This Cho'Gath is Hector. Hector is a challenger player whose fingers seem to age much faster than the Arctic is melting. Watch how he misses literally everything on this Graves. Does it matter? Of course not. Those mechanics are the exact reason Hector loves champions that he can win every game on with zero mechanics. And his favorite thing to abuse at the moment is a build and playstyle only Cho'Gath OTPs use, which we're going to teach you. So get ready, because you're going to learn how to make it impossible to lose lane, and then one-shot everything later on even if you can't hit a spell to save your job, just like Hector. And by the way, that's actually what we specialize in at skillcap.com. We take the most effective strategies for climbing and simplify them so they're easy to learn. With premium courses for every role and skill, taught by the best players, Skillcapped is the perfect platform to help take your game to the next level. Our service is completely risk-free to try, as you're kept safe with rank-up insurance. If you don't significantly improve while actively using Skillcapped, then you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Get the rank you've always wanted by clicking the link in the description below. Alright, now everyone knows about AP Cho'Gath, but most players think it's a niche build that only random one-trick ponies play. This could not be further from the truth. AP Cho'Gath is a fairly hidden OP pick that players aren't abusing nearly enough. For starters, he hard counters the most annoying solo queue champions in the game. Katarina, Akali, Kha'Zix, whatever. They all hate playing against Cho'Gath. Not only that, but he's super easy to pick up. It only takes like 2 to 3 games to get the hang of it and consistently play it in ranked. And best of all, he's a 4-way flex. He excels in mid and top lane, but if you're auto-filled, you can always bust it out in jungle or even ADC and do completely fine. This is all because of his absurdly strong laning phase. Most players aren't aware of just how OP and brain-dead it is to win lane as Cho'Gath when building AP and piloting him properly. And much of that comes down to just how good his passive sustain is, coupled with his Q. Now, when talking about his Q, the first thing people will bring up is how it's a Season 1 ability that is super telegraphed and a piece of cake to dodge. You're right, it is, but the reason it's so overpowered is because it has a base cost of 50 mana that doesn't scale with levels, which is unlike any other primary ability in the game. For almost every other mage, their main ability costs more and more mana as they rank it up. For Cho'Gath though, it starts at a low mana cost and stays there. Plus, it has an absurdly low cooldown. So yes, your opponents will dodge a lot of your Qs, but can they dodge again, and again, and again, and again? Eventually, you will land a Q, and every single one is extremely deadly, and can easily score you a ton of harass or even kills. And imagine when you're landing every single Q on your opponent. Your ability is so overpowered for how safely and far away you can throw it from. If you land 2 or 3 in a row, your opponent has to base or they risk dying. That isn't the only thing that makes you disgusting in lane though. Your passive health and mana sustain makes it almost impossible to push you out of lane, especially with how easily you can farm with your Q. You can just last hit minions and sustain your HP from a mile away, and there's very little your opponents can do about that. There's an important breakpoint that helps this further as well. At level 7 with 4 points in your Q, you can one-shot the backline with a single cast. It's not just health either. Once you've got Lost Chapter, it's almost impossible to go out of mana on Cho'Gath. You just keep sustaining and eventually will just whittle down anyone who tries to stand toe-to-toe against you in lane. But how do you convert all that lane pressure and power into kills? This is where we talk about your kill combos. These are relevant at all stages of the game, not just laning. Cho'Gath may seem like a simple champion, but knowing some correct sequences could make your life infinitely easier when scoring kills. The first one is just W into Q. Let's face it, almost every League of Legends champion has some form of mobility this day and age. You'd think Cho'Gath is weak versus this, but not at all. Everyone saves their mobility spell to dodge Cho's Q, so you just have to silence them first, making it impossible for them to dodge the spell, and they'll have to try to naturally dodge it. And it's not just mobility, of course. Playing around certain invulnerabilities makes this combo very important and will make your life infinitely easier. Of course, even if someone is silenced, landing your Q can still be a pain, which is why you'll be building Everfrost in 95% of your games. Rooting or slowing someone into a guaranteed Q is the simplest way of securing kills and makes AP Cho'Gath one of the easiest champions in the game to play. There is one final combo you should know, which is your longest CC chain. Players won't just let you walk up to them, so you often have to land a long-range Q to engage. Land your Q, use it to gap close, then silence. While they can't cast, your Q will come back up. Now Everfrost and Q once more. Your opponent literally cannot do anything for 5 seconds, and this is incredibly easy to pull off. And that is it for your combos. Cho'Gath is pretty easy, and none of these takes any skill to pull off, but are all incredibly impactful. Now when it comes to your mid-game transition, what should your goals be? Well, this is one of the main reasons he's such a good champion to pick up for a ton of the player base. Every player is different and have preferred styles for how they go about winning games. That's totally fine, and we always encourage you to stick with what you know and excel at. The nice part about Cho'Gath is that he can play basically any way that you want to. If you enjoy looking for picks and assassinating targets, then you can camp brushes and abuse Cho'Gath's crazy burst to score kills just like any other assassin would. Of course, we'd recommend picking up Sweeper, Control Wards, or just knowing that brushes are free of vision when going for this playstyle, since Cho'Gath doesn't have the escape tools of other assassins. Or if you're someone who really likes split pushing, Cho'Gath is pretty darn good at dueling enemy champions if you're doing relatively well. But Cho'Gath just shuts that down right in their face. You can just silence or root any split push champion that comes your way and give them no way to outplay you. We're not going to exaggerate and sit here telling you that Cho'Gath is the best assassin and split pusher in the game. He's not. His lack of mobility hurts him when it comes to these two playstyles. But he's definitely more than capable of holding his own and playing a lone wolf style if that's what you prefer doing. Or if all else fails, you can always fall back to teamfighting, which is definitely his main strength. Your Q and W offer so much control and threat in fights that you are definitely a force to be reckoned with. That's what's so awesome about Cho'Gath. You can play however you want, but if you ever need to fall back to teamfighting, then that is not a problem at all, since that's what he best excels at. Speaking of teamfighting, let's talk about how you should actually approach that as Cho'Gath. Remember that although you get a lot of base health and stats, that you're still building AP. You're more of a bruiser, not a tank. You should be playing only slightly ahead of your ADC and trying to hit the enemy front line and disrupting them through your powerful CC. This enables your team to hit the enemy bruisers and tanks for free, which is quite useful. You should also not be afraid to just use your ult to delete a tanky target first. You will almost never be able to reach the enemy backline with this build. There's just no way, as you're too clunky of a champion, so don't feel this big pressure to save your ultimate to eat the enemy ADC or mage. It's not going to happen in most cases. And that's basically it. You're a bruiser with lots of CC. Stand near your ADC and hit frontline targets. It's pretty easy, but again, very effective. Cool, let's round things out with how to build Cho and some adaptations you can make. For our recommended rune page, we'd suggest going First Strike with Domination as your secondary choice. The reason you go First Strike is that it synergizes very well with your burst playstyle. Most of your damage comes out instantly, which means it's almost all being buffed by the 3-second window First Strike gives you. This works really well for the gold generation part of it as well. You'll get a ton of gold if you're bursting properly, letting you get to your item spikes even faster. This is especially important because Cho'Gath is definitely item reliant, much like any other mage. Mages spike very hard on item completions, so earning extra gold is nice for this reason. So let's talk about what items you should build. Your core is almost always going to be Everfrost and finishing off your tier 2 boots. You can go Merc Treads versus Heavy CC, but it's usually going to be Penetration boots. Your second item is very important. You should buy an early Dark Seal, and if you've got quite a few stacks, then you'll want to go Mage Eyes. Otherwise, just go directly into Cosmic Drive. This is important because Cho'Gath is a very clunky character, and these items provide the movement speed needed to let you both catch your opponents or get away from scary encounters. Now, you can round out your build with standard mage items or some tankier options if you feel like you've got enough damage. A small tip to keep in mind is that you won't need Void Staff in most games, since your Feast is already true damage. You should only pick it up if there's an absurd amount of MR on the enemy team. Finally, there's a rune adaptation you can try into melee matchups if you want to dominate the lane phase. Cho'Gath can make very good use of Hellblades versus melee lanes since it gives him 3 quick auto attacks, which synergizes perfectly with his E. So if you're in a melee lane where you'll be trading a lot, this is a fine choice to opt into. Awesome, let's round things out with some final tips in regards to your ult's passive. Everyone knows that Cho'Gath gets stacks to get bigger and bigger with more health, but optimizing this is very important. Not only do you get more HP for free, but your ultimate's damage also scales off bonus health, which is even more damage, so listen up. You can get as many stacks as you want, but you can only get 6 of them from minions and jungle camps. To track how many you've gotten so far, hold shift down and hover over your ultimate. It will tell you how many more free stacks you can get. If you don't think you'll be scoring a kill in lane anytime soon, then make sure you spam your ultimate off cooldown to get these 6 free stacks ASAP. Obviously, champion kills will grant you additional stacks, but so do the epic monsters on the Rift. So if you ever notice your jungles start Rift Herald or Dragon, then see if you can head over for a free stack on those monsters. You may want to communicate that you want the stack so your jungler doesn't steal it with Smite. What's also a neat interaction is that the summoned Herald also counts as a monster that doesn't count as part of the 6 free stacks. So if your opponents ever summon Shelly in your lane, make sure to thank them for the free stack. And remember, if you want to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted, then head to skillcapped.com. With premium courses for every role and skill taught by the best players, Skillcapped is the perfect platform to help take your game to the next level. Take our wave control course. While you wait for your next game to start, you can learn freezing, fast pushing, slow pushing, bouncing waves, the list goes on, all in just a few minutes to maximize your improvement rate. Or maybe you just like seeing your opponent's health go to 0. Then you'll love our trading course. We even have a skill test at the end so you can see how good you really are. Players just like you are leaving 5-star reviews and raving at how helpful they are. That's not all we offer though, as every week we release 10 brand new Smurf commentaries where a challenger player teaches you how to climb out of the exact rank you're stuck in. If you're looking for something more personal instead, then we got you covered with one-on-one coaching from our trained challenger experts. All this seemed too good to be true? Well, don't worry, we're backed by a rank up guarantee. If you don't significantly improve while actively using Skillcapped, then you get your money back, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Get the rank you've always wanted by clicking the link in the description below. Alright, that's a wrap on this one, guys. We here at Skillcapped want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.